What's going on, everybody? Super Saiyan Player back again with another Dragon Ball Super discussion. I don't normally do videos like this, guys. I rarely ever talk straight to the camera and just do a review. My head is hitting the mic, so that's good. I'm kind of wondering how this goes. Anyway, guys, I have seen Dragon Ball Super movie Broly, and I already knew what was gonna happen. Essentially, like literally, part of me had to see the spoilers because part of being in the YouTube and stuff like that. And Alex spoiled it for me too on Relative Gaming. But, yeah, like, honestly, guys, that was one of the greatest experiences I ever had. Dragon Ball movies, overall, one of the greatest things that you could ever have in life, in general, for me. If I was to give you a rating from 1 to 10 right away, I gave it a 9 walking out. I thought I was going to give it a 10, and for the trailers, it looked like I was going to give it a 10, and from the storyline that I read, I thought I was going to give it a 10. But the movie isn't flawless, and I absolutely love the movie. But they did have some flaws, and now, like, I spent a day thinking about it as it sat in my head. I watched it with my 3 brothers and one of my friends, close friend, and my girlfriend. And I'll show you the breakdown for this in a second, but all of them, everybody gave positive reviews. I don't think nobody gave it less than an 8. But Sean is an anime fan, and he absolutely loves anime, to the point where he watches, like, every type of niche film and stuff like that. And he was very critical on it, and, about to dive into that. So, this movie, one of the most action-packed things you're ever going to see in Dragon Ball. The art and animation, oh my god, just the fact that they jumped and like perfected 3D animation with this fighting scenes. It's so much action there, I don't think you'll be able to process it. I knew that going into this movie, and for me, like, I was like, yo, I want to memorize everything, I want to see everything that's going on. I'm gonna go chug a can of Monster beforehand so that I have laser focus, because that's what happens to me. And I still couldn't keep up. That's how fast they were going. A lot of people after the movie were wondering why there were some things that felt like they were missing, but they didn't pay attention, because like some people were like, where's the attack that hits Frieza in the stomach that you see in the video games, his signature attack where it goes into the chest and knocks them up. That was the first move he did on Frieza. Things like that people didn't catch, like even my own brothers. So it was really fast paced. That second half, like, that was extremely faster paced than I expected. But there's a lot of things you can take from this movie that was absolutely amazing. Like, the fact that they gave us the Saiyan backstory once again, but in much more detail, and they included Broly into it. I think they did Broly the right way. I've always been a Broly fan. Like, going back in the day, if you guys look on this channel, like, back in 2013, I was petitioning for Broly to be canon. People called me crazy for that, but it happened. A lot of the things I predicted back in the day happened. And, yeah, I used to actually... The character I didn't like was Bardock. My brother Sean is an absolutely huge Bardock fan. Me, I always have been a Broly fan. Not because of the backstory for the most part. I feel like they copied his backstory. Besides the stabbing part from the original, that's where I liked his darker backstory, minus the crying too. Like, the crying was like, eh. But what he stood for, the icon of being a Saiyan, is Broly. That's what I've always been saying. And I've been saying that he used to call himself in the video games, at least, a god. Or a devil, and that was what I always pictured him as. Like, you are Saiyans, you guys are a warrior race. It fits into the old Bardock, because this new Bardock, they made more human. They made Broly more human as well, and that's what I really like. Like, Akira Toriyama found a perfect balance for this, to introduce 3 movie characters in a canonized form. So, that's an absolutely amazing feat. Like, the first half of the movie, I don't think they could have done that any better. One major flaw that Sean had with it, like my brother, he said that and one of my friends, he said that, like, he didn't like the fact that Bardock didn't have his signature headband. If you guys didn't know, he didn't put it on, and that takes away from how he went out. That takes away from Bardock's canonized version of his character. Actually, it's 4 characters that were canonized. I forgot Gine. But, from the movies, originally, Bardock, I think, was done very well. Made him into a really caring father, and I actually really like this version better than the other one. The other one went out like a badass, this one was more human, and for some reason this one clicked with me more. Old Broly, some people actually prefer old Broly versus the new one. Old Broly was bigger, he had a darker backstory, similar concepts, less of a personality, and that's where the draw is. Like, literally his personality was based in the ruthlessness of the Saiyans. The new one is much more human, and it's relatable, and it's actually something that's in today's society to a bigger extent, and I think that's why he became even more popular than he was before. Like, this movie, we knew it was going to sell. Broly's always been a popular character, and there's always been a very vocal audience for that, including myself. And man, I actually, the more I think about it, I think the more perfect they made him. Like, I do love the old Broly, but this new one, the fact that they kept him alive and he's going to become a good guy now, and they showed us how, like, his life started out in more detail in the beginning, that he's not a complete psychopath. He has some humanistic traits. It really made you side with him, so that's why I really like what they did with his character. Like, just seeing little moments with him in Chile, or Chilai, however you guys want to say it, and Lenmo, them bonding and teaching him how to eat food, how to unwrap a candy wrapper, no, not a candy wrapper, a food wrapper, and like drinking water, those type of things. Him having a relationship to the animal from Vampa, Ba, like literally having his ear around him and like having that as a very, very important object to him, and seeing how he was basically used as a slave his entire life. That was really, really good. Like, I don't think they could have done that any better. Like, Broly, amazing. The movie is not without flaws, though. I was going to save this for a separate video, but I'm going to dive into this now in the second half of this video. Oh, real quick. I made a video earlier on a couple weeks ago with Alex debating on if Jiren or Broly is stronger. By far, Jiren. Jiren would get his ass whooped. I'm sorry, guys. If you guys think that Broly wouldn't beat the shit out of Broly, I might have just backed up. I heard someone scream my name. Broly would beat the shit out of Jiren. There is no freaking way. This guy in this movie, yo, base form Vegeta, base form Broly. By the time Vegeta goes Super Saiyan God, they were fighting evenly matched, and Vegeta was actually beating his ass. The first fight Broly's ever been in. The first fight. He was at God level. He went from base form Vegeta to God level. Are you kidding me? Then he pushed both of them to where Jiren was in the time span of like maybe an hour. To Super Saiyan Blue at their max. There's no freaking way. This guy's too powerful. Imagine his second or third fight with beings this caliber. Jiren would get his ass busted. There's no way. Absolutely no way. And Goku had the right to say, yo, Broly, at the very end, you may be stronger than Beerus. No shit. This guy, there's another video I'm going to be coming out with, and I'm just going to give you guys the title right away. We're going to dive into this later on, but I want you guys to comment down below with your thoughts and opinions of this. It's a very ballsy statement, but I'm going to put it out there. January 2019 poll saying it, Broly becomes God of Destruction. It's interesting, and I'm just going to make this random prediction, but it's kind of calculated. Broly has always been a god in my book. Like, literally, he used to be the self-proclaimed god of everything. And people used to say that I was hyping him up too much, and the fact that he would never be canon and stuff like that. Because of that, which they were wrong. Obviously. Beerus and Broly never met in this movie, and if you look at how powerful Broly is, you can see he's going to probably be a big threat if he ever fights Beerus. I think he would win that fight. I definitely would, because in one fight, literally, this guy beat two Super Saiyan Blues at their max potentials. He almost pushed Goku into Ultra Instinct. You literally saw it for a second there, and then even in Gogeta's form, it's amplified power. It's not just combined, it's not addition of just Goku plus Vegeta, and then you go Super Saiyan Blue. It's amplified, and then even more so with the Super Saiyan Blue ability, it pushed that to Super Saiyan Blue as well. And that's when they, even though he couldn't hit him, that's when they actually started doing damage. So, Broly's insanely powerful. I think they downplayed how much he can really do. I think he's stronger than Beerus. I think he's stronger than Jiren. And the fact that they're saving him for later, that's a lot of future-proofing for the series. So, Beerus, ever since he showed up on the scene in 2013 in the Battle of Gods movie, Whis has been hinting towards him kicking the bucket, someone taking his job. And even in this movie, they hinted towards that, and they didn't. Whis mentioned it again. This is 6 years later, mind you. And yeah, it's the same exact thing. He's saying, yo, somebody else take Beerus' job over here. And then you got Broly over here, who's stronger than Beerus. I deeply believe that he's going to be stronger than Beerus, that could potentially take that role. He's a destroyer by his rogue nature, but at the same time, he can be exactly like Beerus. In some sort of sense, I've always felt like that, but I'll dive into that in another video. First half of this movie, absolutely amazing. I like the history of the Saiyans. I like the pacing of how they fleshed out Bardock. It felt like a Superman storyline, but I've always been more of a Goku fan than Superman, and it felt really good. Even when we got to Earth and you see Goku for the first time, the whole theater, you could feel the energy from just seeing Goku on screen pour out to everybody. My girlfriend, who's not even like, I wouldn't even count her as a casual fan, because she knows the concepts of Dragon Ball. She's never watched it like in depth, but she knows who they are. She watches my videos and she knows that I'm part of like Dragon Ball culture. It's everywhere for me, and she absolutely loved this movie. She gave it a 9 too. She had no idea of what the backstory was with Frieza and all of the animosity and stuff between the Saiyans. and she loved it, and she like absolutely loved the character of Broly. She never knew what the old school movies were, so this is someone brand new that came in and loved it. That's how fleshed out it was, and that the fact that they showed the origination of the Saiyans and stuff like that, it made it for someone that never seen the movie before or anything about Dragon Ball, really, for like a full episode, they could walk in and see what they were doing here. They did it really good, because even things like sensu beans, they would go out of the way to explain what they would do, or even the Dragon Balls, they would go out of the way to mention the line, this is what they do. They took the accountability for the fact that other people that have never seen this series is going to probably watch this movie in theaters, and I like what they did. They did some really good concepts with just including that, but keeping it hardcore as well, with the second half just being basically pure action. They cut out a lot of the story-driven elements, and that's where I felt like it started to get rushed. Absolutely amazing fight, absolutely amazing artwork, the 3D animation that was jumping in between. There was nothing I've ever seen better than that. This isn't my favorite anime movie as of right now. Before this, it was Your Name. If you guys have ever seen that movie, it's a love story movie, and I love those type of movies. Anyway, but out of the 3 DBZ movies, I'll be making another video on this as well, with more in-depth on this. Out of the 3, I gave Battle of Gods a 9 out of 10, I gave Resurrection F an 8 out of 10, and I gave this movie a 9 out of 10. I think Battle of Gods and this one are very close neck and neck for me. Battle of Gods was a rebirth of this whole generation. That was 6 years ago, guys. And that's what sparked a lot of things for this community. And that was back when I was making videos before the movie even came out in the Dragon Ball community, where there was only probably me and Alex. And that was a really big throwback to me, because that movie sparked this whole generation of things, and that's what I love. And this one is sparking a new one, and at the same time, it's historic, because it brought so many canonized characters we never thought were going to happen, and they did it. And for Akira to bring these guys in here, absolutely amazing. But that second half, I have to bring up the flaws. The reason why it's not a perfect 10. The pacing of that. Yes, it was crazy action. Yes, it was crazy fighting. But if you look at the first half of the fight, while the ice was still there, while they were fighting, and through the mountains, there were some moments where it got a little bit boring, because there's no damage being dealt. And that's the problem I had with the Superman movies, where every time you punch Superman, there's no damage. You need to see damage. And then that changed. It changed as Goku jumped in. When Vegeta was fighting, it was just like, you're punching this. It just, there's no really oomph to the punches and stuff like that. And that's where it's like, okay, after the first punch, whenever you punch somebody like this, and you know that you messed up, you can't really like that drag it out for too long. But they fleshed that part out by making Goku jump in, and then you see the moments where Goku's eyes start whiting out, and that was where I was like, okay, now things are getting real. His clothing starting to get scratched up. Vegeta lost his armor somehow because of, I didn't really see that part. I don't know how. That's how weird that was. And then Frieza versus Broly wasn't really Frieza versus Broly. It was more like Broly beats the crap out of Frieza, and technically they didn't really explain this part too well. He was beating the crap out of Frieza for an hour, because Goku and Vegeta failed the fusion twice. They'd have to defuse for half an hour, or more. It's maybe 2 hours, because you have to wait a time limit after you defuse to fuse again, I believe. So he was beating the crap out of Frieza for a long time. We barely saw any of that, and that was what was kind of disappointing, because Frieza didn't really even get a hit on him. I mean, not like he could, but it was like, eh. And they downplayed, this is what bothered me. This part in the movie bothered me more than anything. Paragus' death. We knew he was going to die. We knew that he was the bad guy. They turned into a less than comedic thing. Like, nobody in the theater for me laughed. And I felt like they really downplayed the rage that you could have gotten out of it. Like, they flashed back to Goku having that moment where he saw Krillin blow up. And then you would see that spark. For this, it was just like, he just like, It was just a quick glance, and then he was like, oh my god, he's dead. A rock or something hit him, a road blast, and I was like, oh man. That one was meh for me. But hopefully they really take some of the elements that they threw in here and they build upon it. That second part where in the volcano scene, I felt like there had to be way more. They had to have way more things. I think things are cut because you can kind of tell it was just moving way too fast paced, and they had something else planned for this. There's no way. I mean, I always love seeing action, and that level of action nobody could really complain about. But usually whenever you have that level of action, you have to have some kind of dialogue or plot or some type of things like that, where you would throw in some emotion, amplify the fight through the plot and emotion, rather than just punch, 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 punch. That was just one of the major gripes I had with it. I'm always an action guy, but this is something that I have to say. Like, literally, I hate when animes, in the actual anime, spend time talking instead of fighting. But here, I feel like this is what it could have really used, and that's why it felt rushed and it poorly paced. In the first part of the fight, they were doing that, but there wasn't that much battle damage. The second part of the fight, there was battle damage, and there was damage everywhere, but they stopped that. And that's where I was like, you need a little bit more building up for the moment. I mean, they were building up through the combat, but at the same time, I felt like you just need a little bit more there. That's just my opinion. It's up for anybody to say what they want, but that's why I would give it a 9 out of 10. Not a perfect 10. It's a great Dragon Ball movie. Still probably the best one. I still would give it probably the best one. If not second to Battle of Gods. That part has a special place in my heart for that one. But the Dragon Ball spirit's alive. Like, honestly, there's just something magical about seeing a Dragon Ball movie in the theaters, and it's just something that you can't get anywhere else. That's why you guys should go out and see it right now. If you guys have the opportunity, go watch it. It's just something that you feel your whole childhood, like in this isolated room, you feel your childhood just flowing in you and everyone around you. It's just something you can't replicate. So rather than go and watch it on YouTube, rather than wait for it to come out on DVD, I would say go support the release. It made $7 million in a day, so we know there's going to be more coming. They kept the story alive through this, and I just love it. Also, another thing, you know that this movie is not going to be a heavily plot-influenced one, because at the moment, in the very beginning, you know that Bulma's just collecting the Dragon Balls for cosmetic reasons, and the same thing with Frieza. That's what surprised a lot of people. Frieza's only using it to get taller in his final form because it's just shallow wishes. That's where it was like, you know, you can't take the story too seriously, but at the same time, in the beginning, they were with the origins of the Saiyans. Like, that was being taken seriously. Making sure Broly comes out as a human character, that was being taken seriously. And then they downplayed the Dragon Balls after the Tournament of Power, where the stakes were at the highest. So I don't know, that kind of bothered me too. Like, the Dragon Balls were just being wasted and they're children's playthings now. I mean, they always have been, but at the same time, it was like, I wish he was still going for the immortality wish. Even though he showed us he's matured past that. I'm just saying he could have found something else. Like, he did say he's gonna have maybe a new form coming, and that could eventually be the same form as Cooler. Like, they could be taking other movie elements, which is great. But overall, 9 out of 10. Go watch this movie. You won't find it anywhere else, and I absolutely loved it. If you guys watched the entire video, make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you guys want to see more videos like this where I just talk to the camera, let me know. It's like one of the first ones I've done in a long time, so it's really interesting, and I like this. It's just, it feels good. So I can't wait to read your comments. This is like a back and forth conversation. Hopefully we can do more like this. Until next time, everybody, take care. Young Mother.